Hello everyone, it's Matt here, and today we're going to be having a look at some Oasis singles and some Oasis B-sides. So, this video today that we're going to be doing is probably going to be similar in style to the Radiohead video that I did about a month and a half ago. That's been the most popular video on this channel, whether that's to do with the style of the video, just looking at B-sides in general, or the fact it was about Radiohead, who I know are pretty popular in the alternative community. I don't know. But anyway, I thought I'd replicate that today, and we'll see, with another very well-known, I suppose you could kind of call them indie, but they were pretty mainstream in the 90s, band in the form of Oasis. And we're going to be having a look through some of their singles that I have on me. I've got you could call it a little collection, I suppose. I've got 7 CD singles. For the purpose of making this video, we're just going to stick with these singles today. And they stretch throughout Oasis's best years, in my opinion, ranging from their first single, Supersonic, that I have here, all the way up to the first single of their third album, Be Here Now, and that is in the form of Do You Know What I Mean? So let's get on. Having seen one of the comments on the Radiohead video where someone just told me to get on with it and stop blabbering, let's do that. I'll just cut the crap today. I mean, honestly, I know I blabber a little bit, so we'll get on with things. And we will start with Supersonic. Now, actually, first I'll probably better do a little bit of background on Oasis. They were formed sort of in the early 90s from an existing band called The Rain, which had Liam Gallagher singing. When Noel, his older and probably he would say wiser brother, found out about it, he wanted in and became the lead guitarist of the band, and they renamed themselves Oasis, and the band was formed. Noel Gallagher and Liam Gallagher are both big Manchester City fans, which annoys me greatly, of course, being a United fan. And for that reason I will eternally prefer the Stone Roses. Noel Gallagher was the primary songwriter of the band. Liam was the lead vocalist, and the combination of these two very distinctive factors. Noel's songs were fantastic, and Liam's vocals when he was younger, although maybe on his upcoming solo album he'll replicate them, and they were fantastic, very distinctive. A lot of people say they were a real sort of combination of John Lennon and Johnny Rotten, and that's quite interesting, in a Mancunian accent and everything, so there we go. And then completing the lineup for all 3 of these albums, actually, we have on rhythm guitar, Bonehead, the only man you found in the group, and he's my favourite member for that reason. Guigsy on the bass, Paul McGuigan, and on drums, originally it was Tony McCarroll, and then he got kicked out because apparently he couldn't keep in time. Whether that's true or not, I don't know, because I thought his drums on Bring It On Down were fantastic, but there we go. And he was replaced by Alan White, who drummed for Paul Weller. So anyway, as we said, that's a brief history of Oasis summed up. Let's get on with the singles. So, Supersonic, this was their first single, and this was really what got them into the charts in the first place. And it's quite funny, actually, because it was written when they were just looking for a song, and they just went into the studio. Noel had this riff that he'd written, the opening riff for Supersonic, and they needed a song, and they basically bullshitted their way through the lyrics and wrote them in a matter of minutes, apparently. This was on the Supersonic documentary, so if you want to know that, a bit more about how the songwriting process happened, watch that. And and they came up with Supersonic, and it is a very cool song. The lyrics are they don't really mean much, to be honest. At the time, I think a lot of people thought they were very poetic and meant all these different things. But to be honest, when you look at them now, it's just a load of rubbish, isn't it? But it sounds great. It's just really cool. The riff works really nicely and everything, and very basic sort of primal drum beat to it all, and it just gives you this feel of really, it's just cool. Just listen to it. It's a cracking song. I'm sure most of you have heard it anyway. Now, on each of these singles, there are going to be 4 tracks. This was in the heyday of singles. Nowadays, of course, we always have like remixes of songs, extended versions. But oh no, Oasis, they were full of stuff. And trust me, if they kept that for some of their later albums, I think they'd still be going now. But anyway, after Supersonic, we have the acoustic ballad Take Me Away, which is a pretty simple song, really, and it's just a nice little catchy song, and actually one of my favourite Oasis B-sides. It's a really nice song where the grass is green and the good times are rolling. So take me away just for today, because I'm sat here on my own. Some of the lyrics in the song. It's a really pretty song, actually, just Noel and an acoustic guitar, so not Liam singing on this one. And then we have a live version of I Will Believe, and the demo of Columbia. So actually that isn't an original song, sorry about that one, I did lie a little bit. Columbia is an album track off Oasis's first album, Definitely Maybe. It's a pretty simple song again, it's just got 3 chords to it, and they always used to open their sets with Columbia, and it's a great choice for an opener. It's a really gets the tempo going and everything, and it's interesting to hear what that was like as a demo before they released it on the album. It's not too much different, it's just not as well produced. There's a couple of little sections that are a little bit different. That's always the way on the demos. And that's the Supersonic CD single. Now the style of today's video is going to be pretty much like, we'll just go through each of the singles and everything. Like a sort of Oasis tapas bar, effectively, if you get that kind of analogy. The second single that Oasis ever released was Shakermaker, and I also have that on CD. Shakermaker was highly controversial for the fact that many people say it stole the riff from the song I'd Like to Teach the World to Sing, which was of course used on the Coca-Cola adverts in the 80s and everything. Regardless, it is it's just, again, a very simplistic song, in the same sort of vein that Supersonic is simplistic. However, Shakeaway, that's a milkshake shop, isn't it? Shakermaker, little bit different in the fact that it's got a really nice little sort of solo section to it, and it almost sort of breaks down into a bridge type thing, comes back, and it goes on for a little bit longer, and there's more substance to it, I think, actually. Now this single is notable for me for having the song Alive on it. Now Alive is probably one of the lesser known songs for many Oasis hardcore fans, because it wasn't even released as a B-side. It's on here as an 8-track demo, and I really wish that Oasis had done more of this and actually recorded a proper studio version, because it is a cracking song. And maybe people disagree with songs. It's before Liam had really found his voice, his really distinctive style of singing and everything. But regardless, it's a fantastic song. The overall melody and the way the chord progression works and everything, it's got these beautiful open chords. Another example I can think of those being used is like Warning Sign by Coldplay, perhaps, if you know that one, where you bar the chord but you don't hold it down. Your guitar players will know what I'm on about. And it creates this lovely sort of ringing, sort of open sound to it, a very lush melodic sound. And obviously it's not very well produced because it's only an 8-track demo, and yeah, bit muddy, but still, it's a lovely song, and I really wish they'd done more of this. So, you know, there's actually a version of it on YouTube with the bass has been sort of redone a little bit and touched up and boosted and everything, which I felt it needed a bit. So if you want to hear that, that's the version to listen to, but it is on the Shakermaker single. As well as that, the second track of it is Do You Want to Be a Spaceman, which is another sort of, another acoustic song just sang by Noel and an acoustic guitar that he plays. This one's all about growing up and everything and deciding as you get older, all you want really is money. It's pretty cynical, you know. How realistic, I don't know, because I haven't grown up yet, but there we go. And the final track is a live version of Bring It On Down, the song I was talking about. Notable for its very good drumming part from Tony McCarroll. I really felt this was his strongest song in the band, really. It's Oasis probably their closest song to being punk. You know, I can really understand what people are saying about Liam sounding like Johnny Rotten, on this song. It's a very brutal song in the way that it describes, you know, you're the outcast, you're the underclass, we don't care because you're living fast. All of this, you know, it's all fighting talk and everything. It's a good way to end this nice little single here. So that's Shakermaker. Cigarettes and Alcohol is the next single I'm going to be talking about today. Again, shrouded in controversy for Niall stealing yet another riff, this one from Bang A Gong Get It On by T-Rex. However, on this one, he doesn't really. He steals it a little bit, but his inclusion of an F-sharp chord really changes the whole nature of the riff, and I much prefer it to Bang A Gong, I'm going to say. Cigarettes and Alcohol is a very hedonistic anthem. At the time, Oasis were living in a council estate in Burnage, which is one of the poorer areas in Manchester, and yeah, and I think it's fair to say they wanted to get out of there and they wanted to be the biggest band in the world, and that's what's so endearing about the story of Oasis and everything, about how they went from... They sing about it, and do you know what I mean? I'll talk about that in a minute. But yeah, this is a song really about just wanting to get out of just the poorer areas and, you know, just enjoy yourselves. And the only way that a lot of people could do that, of course, is through cigarettes and alcohol and other hedonistic pleasures I'm sure you can think of. Next up on Cigarettes and Alcohol, the CD single, is a cover of the Beatles' I Am the Walrus, and this is actually one of my favourite Oasis B-sides. It's not actually written by them, of course, but actually I Am the Walrus is just one of the best Beatles songs in my opinion. I love the song, it's just completely ridiculous, and the lyrics, they were obviously, of course, completely off their heads when they wrote this, old Paul and John. I don't actually know which Beatle wrote it. I presume it's Lennon and McCartney. I don't know. It could have been George Harrison. Probably wasn't Ringo. But yeah, and the Oasis completely change it. It's completely different to the original. It's a lot heavier. It's a lot more sort of brutal again, as I was talking about in Bring It On Down and everything. But I really like their version, and actually in some ways I prefer it. It really sums up the song. I think Liam's voice really suits it and everything. Yeah, it goes on a little bit. It's like about 6-7 minutes long. You know, in true Oasis fashion, you know, that sort of style of music where they'd go on for ages about that sort of thing. Then we have two cracking B-sides that Oasis wrote themselves in the form of Listen Up and Fade Away, which are two of my favourite Oasis B-sides. Former, which is based around... The lyrics aren't great on this song, I'm going to admit, actually. Not my favourite Oasis lyrics, but the riff itself I really like. Again, quite similar to the Supersonic riff and everything, the way it goes on. But feels very sort of grandiose and epic and everything, and I really would have liked it if they'd included this as an album track. The latter, Fade Away, again, continue with the theme of Do You Want to Be a Spaceman? In this whole idea of growing up and all your dreams go out the window and everything. While you're living, the dreams you have as children fade away. That's the line, the only line that Liam sings in the chorus and everything. But there we go. Despite this sort of theme of rather negative ideas and everything about growing up and all these dreams fading away, it is an uplifting song in some ways. I think that's just the structure of the song and the way the chords are put together and everything, and it's a good song to sing along to. Yeah, and they did play it live a lot actually, as they went on a bit and they released a load of rubbish albums and realised that they really should have released some of their B-sides. But anyway, that's just my thoughts on that. Anyway, after Definitely Maybe, they had a few other singles as well, of course, it wasn't just those three. They released, oh gosh, I should know this, but of course, Live Forever as the other big single of that album. And then I think after the album was released, they released Slide Away. I think at the time they were reluctant to, they were saying, oh, you can't release 5 singles off an album and everything, but there we go. They did, I think, later on. Anyway, after that, just after Definitely Maybe was released, they released a non-album single, Whatever. Whatever is a cracking song, just about, you know, not caring, not giving a two hoops, should we put it like that? Let's keep the language clean on this channel. But it also includes one of their most famous songs, especially now, Half the World Away. Now this is notable for being used on the John Lewis Christmas advert a couple of years ago. It was covered by a band called Aurora, a band singer. I don't know actually, I don't know too much about them and everything, but of course the original's much better, in my opinion. The other B-side of this is It's Good to Be Free. Probably not one of my favourite Oasis B-sides, but nonetheless, still a very well-written song. Give it a listen. If you disagree with me, let me know what you think down below, of course. Comment section is always open. And the other song of this is Slide Away. Slide Away is hands down my favourite Oasis song. A single and a song. And I don't know why they put it on this actually. It seems a bit strange considering they released it as a single itself. The only difference on this is that it has Noel singing backing vocals in the pre-chorus and everything. And they have very nice backing vocals and it does improve the song, and I actually prefer the version on this single. But apart from that, it's not a whole lot different to the version on Definitely Maybe. But you know, there you go. I suppose they were probably looking for stuff. They could have added way more stuff. Like a proper version of Alive maybe. That would have been nice. But oh well. Then, of course, we have Some Might Say. Noel himself said that Some Might Say was the quintessential Oasis song. And I'd agree with him, actually. If it isn't Slide Away, Some Might Say would be up there as one of my favourite Oasis songs. It was one of the first songs that really got me into the band and everything. And it was the first single that they released of their second, and probably most famous album, What's the Story, Morning Glory. And Some Might Say, actually I'm not sure what it's about. Again, in a similar sort of vein to Supersonic, the lyrics are kind of nonsense really, but actually it does contain one of my favourite Oasis lyrics. Some might say they don't believe in heaven, go and tell that to the man who lives in hell. And they play it at the Etihad every time City wins, so you know that kind of spoils it from being the best song, you know. Followed by Some Might Say, we have Talk Tonight, Acquiesce and Head Shrinker, which are 3 of my favourite Oasis B-sides, and actually out of all the singles I own, this is by far my favourite. Talk Tonight is all about a time when Noel wanted to leave the band effectively. This was before they released Morning Glory as an album, and they were touring in America. Noel went off for a few days in a bit of a strop and everything after he'd fallen out with Liam or something like that. And he had a chat with this girl, and the girl said, "Oh, no, you got to keep going and everything." And he found it. He talks about it in a documentary, again, Supersonic. Watch it. You know, this is where I'm basing half this information from today. God, that's not good, is it? I need to cite it. But no, it's just a really. It's very similar to, out of all the other songs I've talked about today, quite similar to "Take Me Away" in this sort of acoustic, sort of ballad type thing. I think it's in D major or G major. One of those two. This is followed by "Acquiesce." Now, oh god. How Acquiesce ended up as only a B-side, I really do not know. It could have been a single, let alone just an album track, but a B-side is just an insult to the song, because it is one of Oasis's best songs, actually. It really should have been on Morning Glory. Really, seriously, that is better than a lot of the songs. I mean, Morning Glory is a cracking album, but... Right, okay, I'm going to say this. I think it's a better song than Wonderwall. Don't shoot me. But I would have been happier to have had that on the album. I mean, it could have easily been on instead of like Hello or Roll With It, I reckon. It's a cracking song, and it's a fan favourite at live songs. It's one of the only songs that both of the Gallagher brothers sing on. Liam does the verses and Noel, of course, does the choruses. And the reason for this is that Noel said that Liam couldn't reach the high notes, which I sort of find quite surprising, considering he can sing very high. Anyway, after Acquiesce, the final song on the album is Head Shrinker, which is again a very punky song. The punkier side to Oasis. All about I think it's about a bad relationship. I can't quite tell. A lot of Oasis songs, it's not about what the songs are about themselves and the lyrics and everything. It's just about the way the songs are structured and the way these melodies are written so well, I think. Head Shrinker rounds off the CD really well, and actually, if this had a few more tracks to it, they could have released it as an EP. I don't think EPs were such a big thing back then, though, but there we go, a cracking single. Next up we have Don't Look Back in Anger. This is probably the most famous Oasis song I have in my CD Singles catalogue. Don't Look Back in Anger, of course, is very well known. The solo is fantastic and probably my favourite Oasis solo from Noel. But the single is actually also very good, once again. As well as Don't Look Back in Anger, which I'm sure you all know. We have Step Out, which is very nice, upbeat, fast-paced song, which is quite uplifting as well. Oasis at the sort of the most anthemic once again. And then we have Underneath the Sky. This one starts off with a very peculiar guitar effect, very unlike Oasis actually. It's very sort of, I think there's a lot of sort of mod effect going on it. It sounds very watery, that kind of stuff. It's just about a man who's not really got a permanent place to live. He just keeps travelling and everything like that. But it's almost like, it's in a positive way. It's sort of going on about his adventures and everything like that. An interesting song. And then the final song is a cover of Slade's Come On Feel the Noise. Of course, spelt purposely wrong. Again, completely reworked from the original. I really like Oasis covers. There's another one on the next single I'm going to be talking about as well. And they do a really good job. And honestly, I think a lot of bands, they should do this. They should be releasing covers on their CD singles, but obviously time is a precious thing nowadays, and a lot of bands don't seem to want to do that. And then the final single that I have for you today is Do You Know What I Mean? This is off the band's third album, Be Here Now, which was released 2 years after Morning Glory in 1997. It's not a great album in my opinion, definitely maybe Morning Glory about 20 times better than this one. It's bad for a number of reasons. The production value on it is awful. It's got I don't know what they were thinking, but they multi-tracked about 30 guitars on some songs. It's ridiculous. It's just completely overblown, and it's such a shame because before this, Oasis were the biggest band in the world, and I suppose the little singles collection I got, it sort of documents that from the rise up from sort of the council estates of Burnage and Manchester, all the way up to playing at Nebworth, and it was one of the biggest concerts ever. I think there were over 100,000 people there, or something ridiculous. And they sold out like 2 nights, and they were massive. But yeah, and then they were pretty bad at being the biggest band in the world, and they released Do You Know What I Mean? And they released Be Here Now, and it all sort of went to pot from there, really, because I think they just took a few too many drugs. Yeah. But that is a story for another day. Actually, if you're going to listen to Do You Know What I Mean, listen to the new remastered version that was actually released last year. It's much better, and it's got rid of a lot of the crap, and reveals what a good song it actually is. Yes, I know, it uses the same chords as Wonderwall, we all know that. A notable thing to say about Do You Know What I Mean is the music video is cracking. It's really cool. Very, very well produced. I presume at this point Oasis had, well, of course they had a ton of money and everything, and it's probably my favourite Oasis video actually. A lot more serious though, that's the problem. The real charm of the band, I feel, had gone at this point, really. It's a shame in some ways, but there we go. It's a very well-written song and everything, just about talking about, yeah, oh, here we come, coming in a mess, going out in style. That sort of thing, you know, you go. After Do You Know What I Mean, we have a demo of, oh no, sorry, we have Stay Young. Again, you know, your sort of typical hedonistic kind of Oasis kind of B-side going on there. A demo of the song Angel Child. Another sort of acoustic-y kind of song. Not my favourite, it's not probably up there with like the likes of Talk Tonight or Take Me Away, but still a nice song. And a cover of The King, David Bowie's Heroes. A cracking song, of course. It's not going to be up there with the original, it was never going to be. But it's interesting to see what they did with it, and it's actually Noel who sings on this. So anyway, that wraps up today's video and everything. We've had our 7 singles and sort of in the process documented the first part of Oasis's journey up to the top and then back down, the ascent and the descent. But anyway, of course, this is by no means the definitive guide to Oasis's B-sides, because I've missed out a lot of singles there that I don't own. The Wonderwall single, of course, has The Master Plan, a cracking song that I would strongly recommend. But overall, if you really want to listen to Oasis's B-sides, get their collection, The Master Plan, which in some ways is their best album. But it's not an album, it's a compilation, so it doesn't count. And that's just for it's got Acquiesce, Talk Tonight, you know, The Master Plan, Stay Young on it. All the B-sides, really, I've been talking about that have been any good, really, are on that album. So get that if you don't want to look all over eBay and the internet for all of these. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and I hope that was relatively informative. And to the guy who commented on the radio video, I hope I didn't blabber too long. And if I did, you know, well, I'm sorry. Anyway, if you liked today's video, give it a like, subscribe to see more content in a similar fashion, and I will see you in the next episode.